Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about guitar bridges. We're going to be looking at the pros and cons of some different types of bridges out there in case you're curious about other types of bridges that you haven't tried and maybe wondering if these are something that would be interesting for you to try. So we're going to start with one of the most popular, most readily available bridges out there. Here we have a stop bar tailpiece, bridge with a stop bar tailpiece. Typically found on Les Paul style guitars, SGs, things like that. This one, what's interesting about this one, the way LTD did it, is the bridge and stop bar tailpiece are a little further away than on some Gibsons I've had. So when you're resting your hand, your palm, it sits a little different than it has on some of my Les Pauls. The major drawback of this bridge would be a lot of times resting your palm if it's too close to the pickup, which is kind of, I believe, how the Les Paul was. It was too close to that, I think, and it made resting there really awkward. You'd have to rest a little further back. And then your palm is sitting on these saddles. Now, some brands, these saddles can be very sharp. On this LTD, they're not super sharp. The remedy to that is they do make bridges like this that have rollers, so they're just smooth rollers instead of sharp, jagged saddles. And another drawback is if it's not cut right for your radius, these saddles, you'll never be able to get your radius right because you can't raise and lower the saddles to adjust your radius. So as long as it's cut right, it's not an issue. If they're cut too high, at least you can cut them lower with a file or take it to a luthier. Now, one of the benefits is you can actually adjust each saddle, whereas like some Fenders with the 3 saddles, you can't really do that as well because they're not, there's not 6 of them, there's 3. This one you have an individual saddle, so you can do your intonation for all 6 strings. And that is a good benefit to this style of bridge. This style of bridge was probably the style of bridge I've had the most experience with. And for the longest time, this was one of my favorite bridges. Now we're going to move on to what is actually my current favorite bridge. Well, 2 of them. I only have one of them here to show you. I don't have the other, but my current favorite bridges. Let's move on to those. All right, here we have a Floyd Rose. And this could be any kind of locking bridge, I guess. But specifically the Floyd Rose, what I like about it is when you're palming, it sits in a really good spot. Your palm is really low, close to the strings. There's nothing in the way. You're not hitting anything. It's all string, and then there's just that flat saddle area. So they're very comfortable to play, very low profile. They're not raised up really high. The biggest drawback to these is adjusting intonation. If you want to be able to do it without guesswork, you're going to have to buy these tools they make that can move the saddle without having to loosen up the strings. Otherwise, if you don't have that tool, you're going to have to loosen the strings, kind of push it back or forward wherever it needs to go by guesswork, and then go from there. And if you're not right, you're going to have to do it again until you get it where it needs to go. So it's just kind of this back and forth guesswork thing. Restringing a Floyd Rose is really not as troublesome as a lot of people say. It's not really that difficult. Once you do it a few times and get used to it, it's not bad. Raising your action, you just have the 2 poles or 2 screws to kind of raise and lower it. I really dig having fine tuners though, and a locking nut. And when you're adjusting string gauges, going through tunings, you can always remove or add springs to get your tension right. And then you're just kind of doing a seesaw. Once you get used to doing the seesaw, because that's kind of what it is, like, it's kind of sitting on a fulcrum. String gauge and tuning on one side, spring on the other. So, if your bridge is sitting up like that, you'll need to have more strings or something so you can get it back flat. As long as you have it flat, it's really not a big deal. Very comfortable to play. Takes a little longer to restring, but not that much longer. It really doesn't take a lot longer. Like some people on forums will tell you. This and hip shots. Hip shots are my other favorite bridge. I wish I had one here to show you, but I have sold all my hip shot guitars for now. I do plan on getting more. If I was to choose just 2 bridges for the rest of my life, it would be a hip shot and a Floyd Rose. Now we're going to go on to bridge number 3 that I have in the house to show you. Okay, so here is bridge number 3. Very similar to the Tone Pros stop bar tailpiece and bridge on, say, the Les Paul or something like that, except you don't have the stop bar tailpiece. It's all built into one. It's a wraparound bridge. Now, there's different types of wraparound bridges out there. This one has one really cool feature and one really horrible feature. Okay, So let's get the horrible feature out of the way. I don't know any other way to do this. If you guys have one of these and I'm incorrect, please let me know in the comments. But this is a locking stud. Okay, so this cap right here, it's a cap. It's not a solid stud. You loosen this cap up and loosen your strings up. And that is how you adjust your action, or string height rather. Is you have to loosen the stud, loosen the strings, adjust it. Kind of similar to the Floyd Rose, where you have to guess with instant intonation. You have to guess with your string height on this type of bridge. The ones that are just full studs, you don't have to do that. You can just move it up and down. But because of this locking cap situation, you have to do it that way. I just noticed I need to readjust this one because the bridge is sitting at an angle on the low B side. Because of the way it's made, it's kind of raised up. I prefer to try to get it back flat. Now the cool benefit is, it's almost, well, there's two benefits. It's almost like it's actually very close to the Floyd Rose in a hip shot. Like you're very low to the strings. So it's very comfortable for palm muting guys. You know, it's very comfortable for that. Also, this one, unlike some, has adjustable saddles. So you wrap around, tune up like that, and then you have to put your screwdriver in here and adjust your intonation that way. It's kind of a pain though, because it's, I guess if you were to drop your pickup height, you could get to them easier. Other than that, it's kind of awkward to get to them. But it is a very comfortable bridge to play as far as a one-piece wraparound. I had another BC Rich that had the quad, which is very similar to this, but the quad has a raised bar at the back end. So your hand is kind of resting on that bar. This doesn't have the bar, so you're sitting lower. It's a little bit more comfortable to play. So yeah, that is the three bridges I have in the house and what I think of them. Telecaster bridges, the old school ones with the little, I don't know what you would call it, like the ashtray. If you get the vintage one, it has raised metal sides on each side, which if you do a lot of palm resting, that can be in the way. So if you get a more modern one, it gets rid of that raised metal. It also gives you 6 saddles versus 3, so it's much easier to set up and intonate. And then there's vintage style trims. I'm not a huge fan of vintage style trims because when you're messing with the bar, they tend to not go back very well. But the Floyd Rose, people complain about that. But mine, the way it's set up, it goes right back. There's no problem with it there. So yeah, if you could leave me a comment down below letting me know what type of bridge you prefer on your guitars, which is the most comfortable for you, and why. Like, what do you find to be comfortable about your favorite type of bridge? These are the 3 bridges I use, and if I could, I would go all hip shot, all Floyd Rose. Leave a comment down below. See you guys in the next video.